And I definitely go like at least 6 months without haircuts, like all the time, if I just don't care.
But your hair looks great. Like, I can tell that you either did the blowout curl. It's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all about how it gets cut. So I did have it cut kind of recently because my friends were coming and I wanted to look cute. But thankfully my hair just lays this way.
Nice.
But anywho,
yeah, we're going.
Yeah.
So that'll be the
we
start
can edit
of
that
this
out.
one.
That's fine.
Or okay.
We'll say
we might
edit
it
enough
out.
times that
We might
cut in.
Edit.
There we go.
Edit.
And cool. RATScast number 5, I believe.
And how many were done today? 3.
3.
Nice.
Of course, we did that one earlier, and we did 3 today, so that was 4. So this is 5.
Sink.
Five. What?
Sink.
Yeah.
It's 5.
In French.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But see, in the last one, we did a comparison of SM58s, handing back and forth between Dylan Dish, the deputy of video games, and I, John Eric Hakestead, the arbiter of the religion of art, theater, and science.
You should have jumped in and said arbiter of, because you jumped in for that one. And Chloe Wheeler, the
deputy of climate change.
Yeah.
Ooh, bringing down the mood.
So we were just getting pretty excited about something, right? Before we figured out how to make this technology work correctly. Harry Potter and how linking Harry Potter to what is going on today.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we will just recap the first couple moments of our discussion. So we were talking about our houses. It's a favorite pastime here. Well, I shouldn't just say in America because that book's all over the world. Here in this household, we love to talk about our houses, and there's tons and tons of sorting quizzes you can take online. So we were kind of going through what our results were. So I am a Slytherin. Sorry, I'm mostly not evil, but I am what I am. John Eric, we're pretty sure is Gryffindor.
Pretty sure. I don't know. He's got a lot of Ravenclaw in him, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So it could be hybrid.
I feel like I'm a hybrid between a Hufflepuff and a Ravenclaw, but I identify with the Puffs just because they don't get the attention they deserve. Mm. Yes, Cedric Diggory died, but that's what we got.
Yeah. Continue to support him for, a while after this is over, but at what level are they potentially able to, create a movement, much like the Death Eater movement, much like the Nazi movement from the 30s,
right.
20s and 30s.
And was Trump the wormtail for racism? I mean, Wormtail was the one who called them all together and said, hey, he's back. Mm-hmm. I think Trump may have been that. He's saying, hey, we need to build a wall to keep brown people out. They're scary. They're coming for America. America first. Mm-hmm. I think that he was definitely the major proponent in all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. A really effective mouthpiece, whether it is like him. See, I don't think that Trump is like solely responsible, if you will. Sure. Like there are definitely players in the dark, like absolutely without doubt. And I think that's something that's being investigated within the Department of Justice, and I would imagine other organizations as well, other branches of government. But yeah, who are these people? How much have they participated in this treachery and treason? And how long are they going to continue to support this cause of racism, nationalism, xenophobia?
Something that I can't get out of my head because of previous conversations that we had, John Eric and I, mm-hmm. were the idea that it doesn't affect you until it happens to you. So mm-hmm. as far as comparing and finding the parallel in the book, it's definitely Narcissa, Draco's mother, who realizes it's gone too far and has to tell a big lie and say that Harry's dead. Mm-hmm. But that's what's scaring me, is that where is the breaking point? Where does it happen, hit so close to home to the people where they realize, I've made a mistake. I need to go double back on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It has to affect them personally. So whether that's family members being deported or maybe spouses or partners, in terms of like the racism aspect of, yeah, that's what comes to mind. And then like otherwise, I mean, if we look at, the treason of January 6th, I mean, that was already bad enough. Well, they're saying it's a failed coup attempt. So is it going to take a real effective coup in order for people to change minds? Of course, it might be too late at that point. I mean, there's so much that's unknown. And I certainly hate to be all doomsday. I still have hope. But I guess a question I find that I ask myself is how many people like me or us is it going to take, and how the hell are we all going to get together and be on the same page enough to actually get shit done? Because even amongst people that consider themselves to be, you name it, Democrats, liberals, progressives, whatever, label does not matter. Like we disagree with each other on so much right now, and there's so much divide even amongst people whom we know we share core values with. So I don't know if I have a suggestion at this time other than, I don't know, let's stop fighting about petty shit on Facebook and I'm sure that's all part of the Grand Master plan to keep us occupied while the real shit goes on.
Yeah, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Shiny sparkly. It's unfortunate. And the books, the only way they did it was in kind of indoctrinating themselves in what they believed was right.
Right, creating Dumbledore's army.
Yes.
Reinstating the Order of the Phoenix.
But where are we going to get that? Hopefully there are enough high school students willing to band together and say, hey, something feels wrong about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to fix it. Once again, like you, I do not necessarily have a suggestion. I am just seeing that, yes, there are horrible parallels, and it seems to stem from that racism.
So yeah, definitely don't want to end it on like a negative note by any means. Something. Yeah, I guess we have to allow ourselves to be open to that. Allow ourselves to be open to creating stronger alliances with people that we might not necessarily be on the exact same page, same paragraph, same line, but
Yeah.
people that just acknowledge base reality and are willing to fight for it. And I do think that will mainly come from younger people because we presumably have the most amount of time left on this planet, although of course that's always unknown, but especially in lieu of climate change, definitely don't know how much time is left. So yeah, how much do we want to be willing to put aside the smaller petty differences in order to come together and like actually save the planet?
Right. And what is going to be the golden snitch that will align us all together and make us want to fight for the same thing? Because it's so hard, because I think you're right. Everyone does not have to be lockstep within each other. You can have conflict. Conflict is fine, but knowing what you're fighting for is a completely different argument. And when you don't know what you're fighting for, that's when everything can waver.
Agreed. And of course, we're not talking about people that believe that, people of color should be deported. Like, obviously, we're not going, that's not going to be forming alliances with them. But, people that are more aligned, and we know they're more aligned.
Well, I think that's the important distinction, right? We're all willing to work together as long as we're willing to work together. Because, like the second tenet of
you're fine, sure.
the religion of art, theater, and science, the only justified intolerance is that of the intolerant, for if we allow intolerance to persist, we have become the intolerant. Yes, and it surely is acknowledging our neighbors leaving their driveway.
You're fine, Shirley.
So, if we continue to be more concerned about being polite than we are with being right, we're going to have a problem. And by that, I mean complacency is complicity. I didn't say that right because, as you know, I've been drinking. If you've listened to these last 2 consecutive things, and I don't usually drink, so that's why I'm slurring my words and mentioning it right now. Anyway.
Or I should do this.
yeah. So she gave me the circle with the 3 fingers up in the air as the okay.
Yeah, which
the okay symbol.
Obviously.
But since that's been corrupted by the white
key.
supremacists, and that meaning now suggests white power.
Right.
I have also found myself thinking, oh shit, I shouldn't have given the okay to that person in traffic or whatever.
Right, absolutely.
I need to be giving the thumbs up.
I'm trying to acknowledge it, but it's just so ingrained, I think, in muscle memory or something. Have you not heard this?
I have not heard of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the new like white power symbol thing. That's what wasn't that what Kyle Rittenhouse was flashing in a photo?
Oh, sure, I'm sure. That was.
But yeah, when I grew up,
that's been done by Congress people. That's been done by Republicans. That's been done by frat houses.
It's so unfortunate because I love doing that and then doing like a lazy-eyed wink. Like,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
I know,
can't do
it's
that
tough.
anymore.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
it's tough.
No,
especially for somebody that speaks with their hands a lot.
Which I'm guilty of.
Yeah.
And you. Well, any theater person, really.
I mean,
we've got to express ourselves, and we've got to get it to the back row. So how are you going to do that without doing that? You know,
raising his hand above his head in a forward motion.
Kermit the Frog hands, they were flailing the entire time. I was secretly saying the A under my breath. Kermit the Frog? Yes.
That's pretty good.
We're back on topic with Kermit the Frog.
Not easy being green.
And if you're green,
it's hard to not acknowledge the existence of climate change.
Aw, Kermit.
That was not very good.
I liked that. Your last climate change, yeah.
Yeah, the last, it kind of came in on climate change.
It came together,
The rest of it wasn't great.
Did you hear they fired the original voice for Kermit the Frog?
Yes.
The person is still alive?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Why would you do that?
He was saying that he thought it was political.
Oh, well, right. Yeah. No, I totally support the original voice of Kermit. If you're the original voice of Kermit the Frog, then you should stay the voice of Kermit the Frog.
What if he got fired because he refused to get vaccinated?
I don't think that was it.
That wasn't it. It was long before
COVID,
the pandemic.
Gotcha.
And if that was the case, then he should be fired.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case. I think that he just had lost favor in the political landscape of whatever reality he was living in.
Jim Henson, aka Disney.
But it wasn't Jim Henson anymore, right? It was
Jim Henson's studio.
I think the dude was probably buddies with Jim Henson, but then after corporate got involved, they didn't want him anymore making that much money, and so they got somebody else that was gonna get paid a quarter.
Listen to old Kermit the Frog versus the one in the newest movie. You'll see how bad it is. It's unfortunate.
Mm.
And that's what one of our earlier conversations was about.
Yes. Hiring new actors. Being brave.
Being brave in artistry. Why would you hire the celebrity over somebody who's better at the role?
Right. There are other people who can mimic Kermit the Frog's voice so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all about that bottom line. I mean, anything for film, you have the cost of production, so it means you especially have to make profit. I'm not saying that's what I believe, but that's just my observation, because you're paying so much in order to produce it. The overhead's got to be a lot higher than live theater, I would imagine. And I only say that based on my experience with Stageworks Northwest. So, very much a community theater, not like OSF or anything. I'm sure they have higher production costs too. But
the Oregon Shakespeare Theater?
Yeah. I know, understatement of the century. And I'm really not even trying to call out names, it's just that is my actual experience, is only with a community theater, but they still manage to put on shows, right? So the overhead's got to be pretty low compared to what you have to put out for all the equipment and all the extra people to run said equipment ad nauseum.
Depending. I mean, there are lots of student filmmakers and independent filmmakers who don't need to have a water person for Beyonce because she's in the movie. I mean, there are so many expenses that you have to give up because you're hiring celebrities to be in your film.
And I think that the reason that they hire celebrities is to ensure that, you know, the masses actually go out and buy the ticket to watch the movie, which again turns into their bottom line profit. Right. Yeah. Vicious cycle. Hollywood. What are you gonna do?
Capitalism.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Except I don't feel like California is gonna continue to be the largest economy in the world if the whole flippin' state burns down, which again goes back to climate change. Nice little loop back there. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because John Eric and I started watching The Handmaid's Tale, which Dylan and I discussed a little bit. So we are like one episode shy of finishing season 1. And so of course, like we read the books in high school. It's been a long while for me. Maybe I didn't read the whole thing. I don't know. But it's particularly weird with it being in present time, like in 2021, watching this take place in 2021, presumably. I kind of forgot where I was going with this.
Why is watching Handmaid's Tale important right now?
It's they speak to everything that they are doing to try to avert, you know, the most harsh impacts of climate change. Like they are super focused on reducing their emissions, and while of course I do not support anything to do with the handmaids and hanging people or anything like that, they drastically change their lifestyles in order to drastically reduce emissions in order for the human race to survive on planet Earth as long as possible. That's how it ties in.
All right, I've got a hot take. You can totally edit this out. I'm fine with that. But I don't think anybody cares, especially at the top. They're fine with climate change. They hope that a majority of the population get wiped out. So then they're only left with a few tribes who are in the money, who are in the know.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. You know, I think they'll like ultimately end up still dying, but they'll survive the longest out of everybody else on planet Earth because they have the most money. That's for sure. You know, the underground bunkers are already built. You know?
But why not wipe out the majority of the lower and middle class?
So they don't have to deal with, you know, the purge pretty much.
Sure,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nip it in the bud.
And then you can go and be progressive as far as climate change goes.
Mm-hmm.
So are you suggesting that climate change was purposefully brought on by the 1%, the elite, to prevent the unwealthiest from uprising?
Not necessarily, but definitely it could happen. I'm not saying
they were okay with it because they knew about it in the 70s.
Right.
You know, all of the fossil fuel companies, they knew about it. They're continuing to do what they've been doing, you know, continued 50 plus years beyond that warning. So yeah, I think their goal was to make as much profit as possible. And like, well, we'll just deal with it when we deal with it. You know, cross that bridge when we get there.
So
in the meantime, let's make fucking money.
So greed and capitalism are really the end of civilization.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly think that greed will be our undoing as a species. Which happens to be one of the 7 deadly sins.
Which is interesting because I was thinking about like a story where you could do 7 deadly sins, and everybody says that pride is the mother of the sins. It's the biggest one. I think greed, I was thinking greed the whole time, would be the one that is the biggest now, and I think it definitely is. The worst sin, however, I'll let you take over. The worst sin is envy, but greed.
Agreed. And yeah, and I'm sure that pride and greed do go hand in hand a little bit, but I don't think that you have to be a substantially proud person in order to be greedy.
And I would say that greed is definitely worse than envy. Because envy isn't going to end a species.
Well, yeah, theoretically, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're able to say, I think all of these people have better stuff than I do, like resources, if you're coming off the Mayflower, why not throw them a pox blanket and say, hey, I've got it now. I was envious of your situation and now it's mine. You know, I don't know. As far as the mother of all sins and what actually starts people to being corrupt, I think it's envy. I think envy will lead people to greed. Seeing Jeff Bezos do his astronaut experimentation might make other people envious of his situation, which could propel them into those situations where they want to be more
and that's kind of like the message of...
Is my personal opinion.
Of the American dream or of being rich is like, work hard and you too can become a millionaire. So yeah, and it's definitely just that concept of like the haves and the have-nots and wanting to be, you know, on the, what's that phrase? Oh, like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Yeah, wanting to be on the other side of the fence.
The green-eyed monster. That's envy. The grass is always greener. See it tied back.
So yeah, maybe there are a few sins that compete for first place. But yeah, I do think greed edges everything else out.
No, I think greed is the master. Right. And is, at least in the story that I've formulated in my head forever, writing a story about the 7 deadly sins, greed would be number 1.
And looping it back to Voldemort. What did Voldemort want? He wanted immortality. He wanted something that nobody else had.
Which is
greed.
All of them. Yeah, definitely greed, definitely pride and thinking he was better than anybody else before him.
But there's a good pride, too. You could be proud of the work you've done, and that makes you work harder.
But that's the 7 deadly sins. There's no one of those that isn't necessary. I mean, yes, envy is important. You've got to want more or you won't ever try to attain anything. You have to have self-worth as far as pride. You have to have sleep, but not too much of it or it's sloth. You have to eat or not too much of it or it's gluttony.
Guilty.
There is a natural propensity to reproduce, and that's good, but too much of doing that just for fun is lust. I mean, all of them are human qualities, but it's the overabundance of one that makes it a sin.
Should we just cut it there?
Yeah. I wish we were videoing that. That was perfect. They were perfectly synced up in their quotation finger marks and their silently whispering sin. It was glorious.
But that's why the Catholic Church ruled, because they were like, you're all sinning.
Right. So it's the 7 qualities that every single human being possesses no matter what. It's inherent.
Right.
And therefore it's bad.
You can't escape it. Right. So we can save you. We just have to figure out which quality is the most overwhelming in you personally.
And then you prey on that the most.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that.
Please help me not to drink and smoke pot anymore. That's gluttony. I'm ingesting a substance
clink,
into my body that I don't need. Clink, clink.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, cool. So I guess we will end RATScast. Number, what's cinq?
Cinco.
Cinco. Cinq in French. Cinco in
They're both
Spanish.
romantic languages.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and 5 in
Porque
English.
en español.
Why?
Why? Or because.
Pourquoi? It's so
It's more
similar
romantic
in French. But I mean, no, they're both romantic languages. Americans and the United States culture have said that Spanish is gross now.
What? Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I feel
like that's kind of
right
low
has.
class to speak Spanish. Versus French, which is that's
Which even fewer people
Yeah.
in this country speak.
Right. Isn't
French
that
is a
crazy?
dying language.
French is dying
It's
out for
beautiful,
sure.
but it's dying. The language we should all be learning is Mandarin.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say Japanese or Korean.
Well, yeah. I mean, any of the Chinese, any.
There are several dialects.
But there's several dialects. So any of the Asian population dialects is probably what we should be learning because they are way ahead of us technologically, culturally, it's an I word.
Institutionally?
Infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Their infrastructure is ahead of ours.
Infrastructure.
They're very more prepared for our future than we are. So, at least that's what my well-traveled family member
Yeah, I mean,
says.
hadn't you heard that they were able to like make a skyscraper within the course of a few weeks?
Yeah.
Weeks.
I can do that.
And they're the leader in renewable energy.
With matchsticks? Is that what they were using?
No.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, but I mean, they got
literal.
over this COVID nonsense pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when a community actually works together and cares for everyone else that's a part of that community. It's amazing what people can do when they work together.
I mean, the government also declared very strict lockdowns, so I feel the need to acknowledge that.
Yes.
However, there was not the resistance and the defiance of said orders like there is here, because people do understand, and I believe over in like Asia, Southeast Asia, masks were already commonplace in their culture because they are considerate and because they acknowledge how airborne diseases and viruses work. It's already common practice to wear a mask if you are ill, so that way you don't spread it to others. So, like multiple factors, but yeah, there's a reason why, they were able to face it more head on and quicker than in our country. Absolutely. They're ahead.
Yeah.
So wear your mask. Get your vaccine.
Become Chinese. No.
That's a little tougher.
I think they don't have as many freedoms, which makes it cool. How many freedoms should we allow people?
Oh boy.
And on that note, we're gonna sign off. That's a topic for another time.
How fascist.
But yeah,
I'll
absolutely have the conversation.
Oh, I'm excited.
Cool.
All right, we're going to save it for another one.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Cliffhanger.
All four of you, have a good afternoon.
2, 4. That was generous.
Sync.